G'day. You know, I get asked a million times a year, and that's exaggerating, about how to change strings on a Trem. See, I find it really easy. People struggle with it. I don't, only because I've done it so many times that it's become second nature to me. So I'm going to show you how I do it and give you some tips along the way. I'll do it fast because that's the way I like to do this. I like to get everything quick so I can get onto all the other guitars. I do change my strings on this guitar at least, well, mostly every gig. But I've been taking a couple of guitars along to the shows lately, and therefore I kind of might get every second gig it'll get changed. But alright, so what I do first of all is I get those sitting at the right position, you know, like a medium sort of place, so that I've got room to go up or down if I need to. These two, the E and the B string, are usually the ones that go out of tune the most, so I kind of put them up pretty high because I want to tune them tighter and stuff. So, alright, so what I do is I get my Allen key, I undo that area there. This guitar also has locking tuners on it as well. So this is the first thing I do, is undo these. Then, you know, some people say you don't need to do them up tight, but I do. I like to have them tight so I know that they're not going to go. That goes there. And then I get these unscrewed here because they're locked in, which is nice. And it's just something that I've always had. They come free. I've got this GoPro thing on here that I haven't used for a long time, but it still remains there. Alright, so they're done. That's it. Goodbye. Now, give it a bit of a wipe. I always like to get some of the gammy shit off the fretboard. Get some of my pick dust, if you can see that well enough. I don't know whether you can, but let's have a look. You'll see lots and lots of pick dust. I used to use red picks and I use black ones, and now I use white ones. So can you see that? Yes, dust. Pick dust. That's all that is. Alright, so I've got the strings here. What have I got there? I think I've got everything but the E. So let's go. So I chop them off, chop the edges off. And it's very easy to figure out which one's which, because the thick ones are the E strings and the lower ones are the other strings, and blah blah blah. So get in there like that. So you've got to remember that all this is string tension equals spring tension, and that's it. And it's getting to, you've got to kind of get to a place where you can feel the tension of the strings and the springs, and you want to kind of, you know, I've been known to actually get really close to being in tune when I just put the strings on and feel the tension without having a tuner involved. But I guess that's kind of years and years of total disrespect for myself, and yeah, doing it very often. So there we go, I've got one more string, I've got an E just over here. That one there. Chop him off. I buy my strings in bulk because I go through them so many of them. So that shouldn't be the hardest part. That's kind of quite an easy bit just down here. And my eyesight is getting out of hand. Right, once I've done that, they're out of the way. I go into the little E cavity. Now these things, these ones, locking ones, have a little dot which tells me where the front of the cavity is, and they're also self-clipping, which I love, and I'm putting them on most of my other guitars now. Self-clipping is fantastic. I'll show you what I mean. So that goes in through there, straight into the little hole. If I can get it in there. My eyesight is gone. That's it. Come on. Yeah, that's really easy, I was going to say. Alright, bang. Tighten that up. Let me get the next one. So do it in this order. Rather than doing one string at a time, you're going to get into a routine of getting one event right at a time. And it seems to suit me very well. Tighten him up. That guy. Once you've got them all in, see, you know, if you tune one string at a time, you're obviously going to end up with a lot of tuning discrepancies, because string tension equals spring tension. It's a very simple mathematic concept. At least I think so. I use 9s on this guitar, 9 to 42s, and they seem great. All my other guitars, my Strats and Les Pauls, I use 10s. But the 9s on this work really good. I've got another Les Paul that I was playing today, a red one with a Floyd Rose system on it, and it's actually great. It's a new Floyd Rose system. I don't know what they're called, but it's great. But again, I've put 9s on that too, which is unusual for me in a Les Paul. I like to have the heaviness of a 10 set on there, but you know, horses for courses. 9s work on these guitars perfectly. I've tried them with 10s and I don't know, I struggle. And all right, so make sure that that's sitting the right, because that sometimes has a tendency to pop out, and I'll show you what that means. Like it's like that, right? So you really want to get it back into its position there. There you go, click. Sometimes you can have it sitting like that and tune it, and then you get up the pitch and bang, it sounds like shit. All right, so these are great because you can do that. Now see, I'm feeling that, and I reckon that's around about right. See how I go with my idea of doing it without tuning. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this one didn't snap. So you got to get it right in the right position. Let's try that again. There we go. There you go. So that wasn't too bad. That's pretty close. We've got a little drama down there. What's happened there? There we go. Let's check with a tuner, if we can find one. Here it is. And see how close we were. I mean, my ears have gotten good since, you know, I've been doing this for a long time. This tuner is playing up. There you go. Right in. All right, so once I'm there, give them a good, well, there you go. Give them a good stretch and break a string. That happens sometimes. I've been a bit overzealous with this little video, so I'm going to do that again. But you can see what happens is you get used to the tension of things, and sometimes you get that little bugger out. You get used to the tension, and then you just tune each string one by one. But you know, do a balance of things. It is a balancing act, this whole system here. So let me see where I'm at here. I've got a feeling that little extra string might be still in there. But the stretching is really important, and don't be afraid to stretch. You know, I think that there's some weird and wonderful things out in the market there about stretching strings, and I think they're, for me, a waste of time. I'm sorry, just don't need it. It's a finger job. So there we go. Oh, it's pretty close into. Oh, that's what happens. There's a big. I'm glad this has happened because it'll happen to you occasionally. What's happened is the little bit that I ripped off in the last string is probably still in the cavity here. So I'll just try and get that out. And I don't want to kind of go too hard with it, because let's see what happens here. There it is. There it is. You probably can't see it, but there it is. little piece there. So let's see if that string will go back in now. It might mean a new string. Yes, it does. It means needs a new string. And that's cool. Let's just put that away. I'm glad that happened, because these are the common mistakes that happen. It's you know, it's a complex system. I love this system, by the way, and I think, well, actually, I don't think, I know I prefer the Ibanez system to the other Floyd Rose system. The Ibanez system just, it's smoother. It has a better arm connection. It just fits in my hand perfectly. And it also has, you know, the variety of being able to stay in a position rather than just hanging loose. Whereas the, you right there, mate? Ziggy. Whereas the other Floyd Rose, kind of, they're always loose and always too tight, and I've struggled with that. So there we go. Let's get this going again. This is an old guitar with old cutters. There we go. All right, back to the beginning again. Stretch. Don't be afraid to stretch too hard. There you go. See, that handled it no problems, simply because there was that little bit inside there. You really only need to stretch the strings, I reckon, twice. You've got to kind of know what the pitch sounds like too. I think it's important that you kind of get a feel for it. There you go. So, this is the second time I've stretched. And that's it. I'll put the tuner back on and get it right in tune. And then we'll have a frang on it. Let me go here. If you get to the stage where it's really out of tune, always tune from the low strings first, because they'll take up the most tension. And then over-tune. If you're really under, if every string's really under, over-tune it so that next time you come around, it'll pull itself back in pitch. And this is the boring part of the video. Oh, pretty close there. Right, lock that in. And something else I'll explain to you as well that's really important is, especially up here. Let me just, yeah, see, this guitar's great. It just naturally works every time. A little bit. There you go. You can expect that to be in tune for the gig. You might have to tune up the E and the B string a little bit, depending on how much you bash the shit out of the strings, which I do, and I use heavy picks and go through, you know, 2 or 3 these a song. All right. So the thing that I was talking about before is this little area here is very, very important. Now, you can imagine you've got a string running over the nut that's like that. Okay? So the string runs over the nut like that. Now then, there is a bar that sits under the string like that, which is this thing here. So you've got the string sitting over the nut, and then this bar that holds it down. Sometimes, depending on the angle of the string to the tuning peg, if this is not down low enough to hold it into place, what sometimes happens is that. Does that make sense? Can you see that? The string kind of goes there, and then as soon as you lock it down, it's going to go out of tune. It's going to pull it in every direction. So make sure that that guy there is at least, not too far, but at least having some effect on the string being pushed down over that whole nut. I hope that makes sense. But there you go, that's all you need to do. And it sounds fantastic. Let's plug it in. My favourite guitar, this one. There. Perfectly in tune. Look at that. Perfect. See, needed no 2 times I stretched it. The trick is also, don't put millions of winds around it. I mean, no, but that's got half a wind on each string. The locking system is really, really handy because it just eliminates all that excess stuff. But even on my Strats, I really only get about 1, maybe 1.5 winds around the posts. The least the better. This whole thing about more string equals sounds better is bullshit. I'm telling you. Also, the fact of stretching a string and having a, not stretching the string, you need to stretch your strings. Simple as that. That's what it is. It's not going to affect the sound. It's not going to dull the sound. All you're going to do is get it to where it's going to go anyway. Just get it there quicker. And the simple thing of stretching is that. So I'm lifting it at the same time as doing that. I'm trying not to kind of go too hard on either side because I'm just going to make dents and grooves in those things. And there, see, that should still be, there you go. It's fine. So really I've only done 2 stretches and it works perfectly. Give it a go. If you get stuck, please let me know and I'll see if I can find what your solution is. If you have a guitar that's constantly, like one of these guys, one with a Floyd Rose or an Ibanez or whatever, and it's constantly going out of tune, then there's other issues. And we can have a look at those. Be in touch with me and I'll see if I can help you out. But there you go. That's what my guitar is. 3 springs, real simple. And I think we did that. Well, we spent extra time on that because that E string, which is a great thing to happen because it gave me the opportunity to show you some shit that does happen. If the excess little string that's broken in there, and sometimes that's what happens when you're on stage and you break a string and that little bit hangs in there, you go to put a new string in, it's got 2 strings it's got to lock up against, so one of them's going to come out easily. So get that stuff sorted out. See how you go. Get stuck, give me a call. Bye.